Hello, Acoustic Guitar Forum. So this is going to be a hopefully relatively brief overview of the Elite Acoustics Engineering EAE D6-58 120 watt battery powered amplifier. So it's a relatively small amplifier. It weighs just under 30 pounds. So it's easy to carry. I mean, it's twice the weight of the Bose S1 that I'm used to, but 30 pounds is not prohibitive for me in any way, shape, or form. So you can see through the grill there, it has an 8-inch woofer. It also has a 5 1/4 inch mid-range and two tweeters, two 2-inch dome tweeters, and then a couple of sound port holes there. So that crams a whole lot of speaker into a relatively small cabinet. Coming to the top here, it has a nice heavy-duty handle, good quality. So at the very top, you have your top controls when it's sitting horizontal like this, and then if it's sitting on its side on a stand, then you have access to these controls, which is great. This is basically for those of you who are familiar with the X6 Stomp mixer. This is the exact same controls, which I actually have that mixer. So for me, this was a great amp to have because my learning curve was pretty much non-existent because I'm very familiar with all these controls. So you've got a main, aux, and system controls. I'm not going to go into all the operations right now. I'm just doing an overview. Here's your 5 channels, actually 6 channels, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is a 5 and 6 channel. You have chorus, delay, reverb controls over here. You have your, I accidentally hit the zoom button there. Holding with my hand, trying to do two things at once here. So over here you have chorus, delay, reverb, we just said. We have an aux in, your peak and signal lights, mono for mono or stereo. This is your monitor output. And then this is something that the X6 doesn't have, which is convenient. It has a high, low, and mid tone controls here. So internal of the setup over here with the mixer, you can set highs, lows, and mids and sweepable mids for each channel doing this, and then you can also do individual volumes and gains, and there's notch, there's gate, there's compression. It's quite the powerful system. But then you can also, when you're all said and done, you can do some tweaking with lows, mids, and highs here at the output, which is convenient. There's a couple of few tiny nitpicking things about this amplifier, and one of them is right here, so I'm going to show you. All 3 of those knobs are at the detent flat, and you can feel it, by detent right there. And yet the high and the mid are ever so slightly off instead of being straight up and down like the low. Minor quality control thing, unfortunately these knobs do not have lock nuts so I can straighten them out. I assume I could probably pop them off, but it's not that big a thing. I don't really have OCD, so we're going to let that go. But it's a quality, a final quality thing. That shouldn't have gone out of the factory like that, in my opinion, on a $1,300 amplifier. This is your Bluetooth, and you have a little Bluetooth antenna there that flips up. And it's an easy pairing system. Coming over to the side, on this side you have the pole mount, so you can put this up on a pole. And what's nice about that is when you put that on a pole, then you have all of these controls at your fingertips to the right. So that's great. I would have preferred them on the left just because I like having my amp on the left of me and my wife, who's my singer, on the right of me, so the neck of my guitar doesn't bump into her. But, they had to make a decision one way or the other, and it's not going to be perfect for everyone. Coming over to the back here, you have basically your 6 channels. So channels 1 and 2 have both XLR. I got my Wingo. So you have both XLR and mic line 1/4 inch inputs, and then you have an instrument input. So you have that. I can pull that right out. You can have that for both channels 1 and 2. And then you also have a mic line or instrument push button. You have a pad, so you can pad if your signal's too hot. And then you have a individual mute. You have input gain. You have 48 volts of phantom power on channels 1 through 4. So you have all of that on channels 1 and 2. On channel 3 and 4, everything is the same except you don't have a dedicated instrument input. So like my wife and I use channels 3 and 4 for microphone, and then I plug my guitars into 1 or 2. And then you have, as a lot of these small mixers have, a dual channel 5 and 6 with just a 1/4 inch inputs left and right. All right, and then you have an aux signal out left and right with an output source switch. You can make it the main outputs channel 1 and 2 direct output. I'm not going to go into that right now. You have a monitor right output to send to a single speaker. And then you also, of course, have dual XLR outputs left and right that can go to powered speakers, can go to a PA. So a lot of options here. You do have a MIDI input. I never use MIDI, so I have no idea about using MIDI at all. Down here you have, I'll go ahead and turn the amp on. So you have 4-light system, charging, low, normal, and charged, fully charged. And then the last thing you have down here is we have where the DC plugs in, AC plugs in, I should say. You have the on-off switch, and then right here you have a battery switch. You have 2 positions, connect and disconnect. So if you're going to use the battery, you got to put it in connect. Also, if you're going to charge the battery. If you're just running on AC, then you put it on disconnect. One of my other few nitpicking things here is this is completely recessed, so you can't accidentally turn it on. That's fine, but I mean, they've got it really recessed. It's hard to turn it on and off even with a finger. There's a little slot there, so you can easily stick a screwdriver or something in there. But I think with this extra part sticking out here, they could have put a slightly more flush switch that's easy to turn on and off. I always use these battery-powered systems in battery. I charge them, and then even when I'm home, and even if we're playing out live and there's available power, we use battery. I love battery, and I hate cords. So another little nitpicky thing. So behind here is your battery, which to get access to, I'm assuming because I haven't opened it up, but I count 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 screws to get that battery plate off. Now, you're not going to change your battery that often, one would assume. So I guess you really don't need it, but in today's day and age, 4 or 5 screws maybe, or better yet, some sort of quick disconnect would have been fine, but nobody can accuse elite acoustics engineering of not being hardcore in their build. And then just the top here, plain wood. And then so the only other thing that I could possibly take exception with, and it's not even really that, it's just one of those personal preference things. I have found after using this for a couple of days now that one of the very best sounding options is to have it on the floor tilted back. It would have been nice on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and turn this upright like this just so you can see this. So on the bottom you have 4 nice heavy rubber feet. I would have loved to have had one of those little recessed mounted quick flip ups here that allow you to flip that up and have it tilted up. Now, what EAE does offer, and I just purchased, but I don't have it yet, is a little fold-up wedge that fits in the side of the case, which I also ordered yesterday. Did not come with a case, and so that'll, that gives you something to put it on the floor and wedge in an upright position. But again, a small thing, but it would have been nice to have a little built-in thing that you could just pop out and wedge it up. So, and then the last thing I want to show is just, so when it's on a stand, on its side like this, now when you're sitting next to it, you basically have access to all of your controls, which is very convenient. It's perfect for a singer-songwriter type solo artist. So, and then I just wanted to show you real quick up here. I'll go through this. I've gone through this with my X6, but so setup on this is fairly easy. You just go in, you hit system, and that gives you your input level. So then you plug in your microphone or your guitar, and then you strum it, play into it, sing it, and then back here on the input gain knobs, you turn that up until you have your input level up to about the -6. So, I mean, and then there's the top line is red, and that's your, where you're going to start to spike and clip. So you set that, and then here's your routing for your MIDI and your XLRs. These are two things I never use. Here's your XLR out, which is you can do a individual EQing to your XLR, which is different from your mains. And then last but not least, this is your scenes. This is how you save scenes. You have 10 scenes, and here's your memory. So each one of these is always goes to a button. So, memory 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then if you want to load, you just turn this button over until it loads, or turn this button all the way over till it hits the bar, and then that saves. There's an aux menu. Okay, you can do your aux mix. You can also pan. And then here's your main. So here's your main right now, your main levels. As you can see right now, I'm using predominantly channels 2, 3, and 4. So 2 is my guitar, 3 is my wife's mic, 4 is my mic. So you can increase or decrease your volume, and that will actually stay when you save the scene. So if I need to be a little bit louder or a little bit less louder on the guitar, I just do that. And then same with the other 2 channels. Now, to go in and EQ and set up each channel, you just press, they call these encoder buttons. You press the encoder button, press 1, brings up your EQ. So you have your low, your mid, your sweepable mid, and your high. And then you also have a low cut, which is a high pass filter. You have your insert gain, so you can increase more gain. You can also set your gate, which is great for getting rid of hiss, and then you can add compression as needed. Over here, your utility, this is your notch basically, so you have a polarity for reverse or regular polarity, and then this is your frequency and how much you want to cut. This is basically your notch. So if you have a problem frequency, you turn the cut way down, you find the problem frequency, and then just dial it up to until you can dial out as much as you want. And then it's back to EQ, and that's the same for all 6 channels. So over here you have a chorus, delay, and reverb. You can only put delay on one channel because you really only use it on guitar mostly anyway. It's assignable. You can assign it to any channel. And then there's reverb. Reverb, you can how much reverb you want, and then what kind of reverb is just, how much decay and what the tone is. And yeah, and then you have the monitor out, which is, the monitor out is actually what this front speaker is, how loud that's going to be. So that's the basic rundown of the unit. Yeah, overall, very impressed with it. I'll discuss it a little more in the write-up, but I wanted to give a quick. I'm almost at 15 minutes here, so I'm gonna wrap this up. That is the Elite Acoustics Engineering D6-58. This is the wood panel model. They do make a Tolex model, and this also has the built-in lithium battery. I charged this battery to full when I got this late last week. I've been using it on nothing but battery since then, including a couple of 1-hour practices, 1+ practices with my wife, and I'm still, still normal, still fully charged here, or at least I haven't hit below yet. Put it that way. So yeah, it appears to have a lot of juice in it. So yeah, I'm liking it. All right, more in the comments. If this wasn't enough, read the comments. So and we'll talk more then.